Hello everyone and welcome to the Dividend Reaper YouTube channel where we talk about investments, finances, frugality, and much, much more with a little side of minimalism. My name is Brad and I'll be your host today as always for this YouTube channel and for the Dividend Reaper website. If you like today's video or any of the other videos on the website, just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to show your support. But today, the topic of the day is my debt story. I feel like this is talked a lot about by other finance bloggers and especially the YouTube community as a whole who's ever lived in debt. But my debt story starts a little bit different than everyone else's because I'm a unique snowflake. But as far as my debt was concerned, I had been brought up in a very, very conservative household because my parents had a divorce when I was rather young, and that left my parents as basically single parents in their own households in San Diego. And if you know anything about San Diego and California in general, you know that California is extremely expensive. In fact, I'm pretty sure the state's about to collapse and sell itself for a blockbuster video. Maybe. But I digress. After that, I basically grew up in those households and the households got bigger and my parents started bringing in more money and money really wasn't an issue anymore, but I was raised in a household that was very much about if you want it, you better work, earn it, and find a way to make it happen. And unfortunately, at some point, I ended up buying a car because I needed a car. And I took a loan for it, and that was the only loan I had for a while. I paid it off pretty quickly because I was not really used to being in debt, so I didn't have a problem with it, but I paid it off anyway because I hated how it felt. Go on and enter my college days. When I went to college, I started getting the mindset of, well, interest rates are getting a little low, meaning I can actually start financing stuff, and it really won't be that expensive. It's only $200 a month. I can drive whatever I want. I can go buy whatever I want and just put it on a low interest rate or zero interest rate because my credit was pretty good. And life didn't really bite me. But I was really lucky because nothing really hit the fan at that point in my life. So I just sort of continued moving forward, just always carrying a little amount of debt. A couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, with the idea of, well, I just pay it off every single month and I'll be good to go. Then, as life progresses, as it always does, I met my to-be wife. And I had an eye-opening experience when I had asked her to marry me. And I asked her, as I feel everyone should ask their spouse going into a marriage, or probably even way before the marriage, let's sit down and go through our finances together because I want to know, tell me what your finances are so I can update my spreadsheet and keep track of it all. And when I combined our finances, I had a rude awakening because it was not a pretty sight. I think we had somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 in debt between the two of us. And I know this isn't a huge number comparative to some other people out there, but it was huge to me because it was really that snowball effect of, oh my gosh, like I'm really not worth a whole lot, because I saw the debts and I saw what I thought was a lot of money in my own bank account thinking that it outweighed the debts, and I found out together we were pretty far negative net worth. I think we were like negative 25 or 30,000 net worth when we combined our finances, and a lot of it was she had a school loan, she had a car that got brought into it, and she had opened up a credit card for the first time. It was 0%, but she started racking up all sorts of stuff on it, thinking that she wouldn't have to pay until way later because it was a interest-free for a whole year. Didn't really do the full math on it, but we'll go into that into another video, I'm sure. But it was the eye-opening experience for me because when I plugged in my net worth and started to basically subtract what I had from what I owed, I realized that together my wife and I were worth less than a homeless person. And it bothered me a lot, like a lot, to the point where even though I wasn't paying any interest on things, because any credit cards I used, I paid off in full. Every auto loan I had was like 2%, or if I had a loan through Best Buy for a TV, it was always at 0% for a year, so I'd always pay it off before I ever got hit with it. But it was more so when you put it all on paper as to how much you're actually worth, like, oh, I'm worth like negative an Escalade. That's not good. That's not good for anybody. So that was the eye-opening experience for me, where I figured out I don't want to live this way. I don't want my wife to live this way. I don't want either one of us to create this family that is just owing everybody and not really being worth anything and not building up a legacy, because eventually we're going to have children. And it just like freaked me out to think about the conversation I was going to have with my kids if we ever decided to have them about, hey, yeah, this is the way we run things in our household. We're now in the hole $150,000 because we didn't stop and go, whoa, hit the brakes. This can be reversed right now, and it'll be a lot easier than when you're down at 150. So it was that mind-melding, turning, bendy, like life happening that just happened to hit the spoke of the bicycle we were riding on at the perfect moment. And for us, it really turned it around. So it was nice because when it was all on paper, it wasn't just an eye-opening experience for me, but it was an eye-opening experience for my wife, which was fantastic, because anyone who's ever been in a relationship knows that if you're going to make a radical change, if your spouse or significant other is not in the boat with you, that's a really terrible place to be, because they're not going to be on board, and it's going to be half your fight is going to be creating or doing what you decided to do, and the other half of your fight is going to be convincing them that you're right about what you're trying to do, or that it has meaning. But thankfully for me, she got in the boat pretty quickly when it was all on paper, and she saw how much we were really not worth. And I say not worth because we weren't worth it. We were worth less than anything. It was terrible. So I started taking up our finances, and I basically put everything under my wing. And that was a household decision we made, basically, she was not as financially savvy as I was, or not as frugal as I was used to being. Because if I saw something I didn't want, it was pretty easy for me to say no, unless it was a big ticket item, which I was very guilty for, and that's how my debt came into it as well. But anyways, well, that's another story for another time. But when she agreed to let me basically head it up, I just started attacking it with just a vengeance. I mean, just getting out our debt. And within a year, we actually not only dug ourselves out by basically living on, frugal activities, things that didn't cost a lot of money, or we just made sure to always watch what we were doing, or we changed our life around to really fit what we should have been spending in the first place. And within a year, we had completely dug ourselves out of debt. And we actually, I learned how to invest, and there's another video for how I learned to invest, but I just sat down, put my head to the books, and started learning how to invest, and our portfolio was up in the not high, but it was in the low teens already. So not only did we dig ourselves out of a hole, but we got to a point where we actually started working towards being worth something, which brings us where we are today. That was about 2 years ago at this point, so just about the start of the portfolio when it all started coming together. And it was really good, and I'm just so proud of where my wife and I have been able to bring this adventure. And that's part of why I put together this channel and my website, was because I wanted to share my story, her story, our story, and tell people this is how we got out. And if anything of our story can help anyone else, and not only just teach them about how we got out, but how we learned to invest, and what we're doing to invest, and what we're doing to create a brighter future for the kids we will eventually have, then that was worth it, even if it's just one person. But overall, without going into any further detail, that was our debt story, and is our debt story, that's been nicely folded away and put into a coffin somewhere, hopefully never to be re-entered into at any point in our life. But I'm sure we are two of many who have been in a situation like this, or had their own eye-opening experiences. And if that's you, please feel free to share. I'd love to hear from you all. If you like this video, or even the channel, again, always like, comment, and subscribe, or visit the website. I'm here for you anytime you need to have even a friendly shoulder to bounce something off, or just nerd out with, because quite the nerd. But until next time, this has been Brad with Dividend Reaper, signing off.